I'm Allie Craig, and I'm traveling across the country to fix the heartbeat of the modern economy, the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are like no other business. It isn't just about selling a product or a service, it's about selling the experience, the relationship, and speaking to the social stories that hold the hearts and subconscious minds of our audiences. And it's these fledgling brands that must be designed as much for their audiences as it is for their authors if they're going to break the statistics and make bank. Having fixed countless brands over the last 20 years and worked with hundreds more entrepreneurs, founders, and startups, I know that I need to do something radical to get these brands and their founders back on track. Because in this age of social media where everyone is a critic as well as an instant expert, your business and audience can boom or backfire overnight. If I have any hope of saving these brands and transforming their businesses, I have to get these entrepreneurs to embrace the experience they are really selling and escape the mindset that all they are is just an offer. Hey everybody, this is Allie Craig. Welcome to Fix My Brand with Allie Craig. This is season 2. I have the most amazing Dr. Megan Todd with me today. Now, if you've seen the beginning of season 2, which aired last fall, you know that this lady has some mad freaking skills. I mean, besides ridiculously creative, besides degrees and certifications and absolutely everything, the work that you help to create is something so needed and yet honestly so underserved in today's world. But our struggle was really creating a brand that reflected this holistic approach that you take, that you got and your audience got.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I got, as many creatives do, right? Lost in the process, or in the creative process, in that very messy middle part. I am very good at diving in with clients and sort of meeting them in that messy process and helping them distill, but I wasn't great at doing it for myself and my branding and my services and really bringing that forward in a clear way. So once people get into the process with me, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is exactly what I needed. But trying to articulate that in a clear way, in a concise way, was a challenge.
So when it came to saying yes to her on the show, the team and I were excited about her creativity and her energy. But honestly, we were all a bit confused on what in the world we would be building for her over the season, because we really weren't sure what she did, and more importantly, we weren't sure if she would really know.
Dr. Megan Todd midwifes creative ideas into form. She is an alchemist carrying both ends of the wand, blah, blah. What is this?
I don't know what she does.
Current website. Whatever it is, it sounds like she caters towards creative people.
Yeah.
Okay, existing website, pretty-ish. I mean, you can tell it's a WordPress site in my book. Like,
yeah.
it says WordPress template to me.
It says WordPress everywhere.
So I think the struggle with that is going to be creating an engaging experience, because that's a site that reads like an old brochure, not something that I want to connect with and come back to and experience and all of that.
My vision is to amplify love, justice, and equity through my mission of creating infrastructures of shine for programs, certifications, digital products that art vendors are creating.
Her area seems fun and vibrant and colorful.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't see that here.
So while I feel very aligned in my purpose and what it is that I do, the visual branding doesn't contribute to really getting that message out there beyond the walls of the universe. Bye.
I'll give you why you love words. I mean, all of your training and whatnot, doctorates.
Words matter.
Words do matter.
Yes.
But finding the right words that align with you and align with your audience was a bit of a struggle along the way.
It was very much, it needed that distillation. I still am committed to the fact that words matter and being precise, but less verbose, less wordy in marketing, and being able to clearly articulate my purpose as well as how I'm serving my clients was key.
Well, because the words are the relationship. It's the beginning of the relationship. And when they meet you, you're ridiculously warm and inviting and engaging, like, yes, but sometimes when you're just reading it, it's just like, it's a little intimidating, girl. You got the smarts. We all know it. So,
but yes, and I think that comes out of like a love of words and the written word. I am a writer, and so I come by that naturally. But it wasn't, what I didn't get was online. It's less is more, and so really distilling was a key, and it was painful.
I know. We struggled.
Own that.
We
yes,
struggled
we
with
did.
that. When I would write, she would add. I'm like, don't add any more words.
And I get it. I am getting much better at that. Would you not agree?
You are. You're getting much better.
Much better at that. And still, keeping the integrity of precision and clarity, but paring it down a little.
And the heart of it all, because that's super important.
Yes.
Now,
absolutely.
The other struggle we had is, you do have, like most entrepreneurs, so many, well, most entrepreneurs don't have doctorates like you do, but most entrepreneurs have so many certifications nowadays and degrees and so many different areas. And honestly, it actually all made sense to the work you did, but coming into the process, it wouldn't have made sense to the outside world. So let's see what it was like to really kind of how to get all her skills into one and the struggle that we had.
So oftentimes creative people are like little idea machines. They spit off ideas, and it's very difficult to say, I'm going to put some of those ideas into the idea parking lot and be able to let them rest there for a while so that I can move with one idea and bring that work out in a powerful way that can make an impact.
Who her audience has been, which has been a bit more woo, more yoga instructors, massage therapists, healers, and all of that, they don't pay. And Dr. Megan Todd would like to be paid, because that's what we all want in the end. We all want to have money in exchange for what our services are. Not because we just need money to live off of, but because it's also a way of showing respect and appreciation and valuing that our innate gifts actually do matter to this world.
It's about that like catalyst energy. It's about generating the work. And sometimes you can't quite do it yourself, right? Like sometimes you need somebody to come in there and say, this is amazing. Like for what you want to do and how you want to bring this to the world and who you want to serve. Like this is beautiful. This is powerful. And really start to strip away the rest of it. Because oftentimes, even though we can do that for other people, we're not as good at doing it for ourselves.
Finding that, what we like to call in neurohuman branding, common red thread of everything, because honestly, all of what your training, your background, your history really made sense to the work and how you truly served your audience.
Absolutely.
Even if they didn't realize it in the beginning. And I think that's even makes your work more beautiful and more powerful, because you have yoga and Pilates and all that kind of healing side. You have to have that. When you're working,
it infuses everything I do. Absolutely.
Because also, when you're generating work that matters, you can. It's just like your brand.
It's a whole person process.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, it's like I always tell everyone: we can make a brand that makes $1 million or a brand that makes $100,000. But either way, if it kills you in the end, what did we serve? Same thing with what your work is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think infusing sort of the mind-body connection back into this process of generating work that matters and finding the perfect container, right? It's not a cookie cutter formula.
Nope.
It's not the same. It's not an e-product for everyone. It's not a digital course. It might be, but it's not necessarily. And finding that clear structure and one that's flexible enough to encompass that. It's so interesting. The irony is not lost on me that I can help people do that, and that it was a struggle for me as well, but it gives me great compassion for my clients, because I'm like, I get it. I'm right there with you. Like the struggle is real in the process of clarifying that. And I think that's part of what allows me to show up in a very whole way.
Well, and being honest with that is the one thing that
absolutely
you have a strict, internal guidance on, of just being ridiculously honest and straightforward in all the great ways. And so to help your clients do that as well, about what is the honest approach for them to bring forth their work. And I love that you're able to A, think outside the box, but B, also kind of help them not fall into those traps. Because what do we see in the entrepreneurial marketplace? You need to do an e-product, you need to write an ebook, and
everybody needs to do the same thing, or it needs to look or be the same kind of delivery, right?
Yep.
You can create really interesting ways to meet with your clients or to build relationships and to, because it's not information delivery, right? It's all about creating those powerful, transformative experiences.
Exactly.
And that doesn't happen in a cookie cutter kind of way or necessarily on an e-product, right? So opening to the possibilities and really, I think when I work with clients, letting go of the how, like at the outset, when you're starting to really dream your vision, when you're downloading your content and really getting it onto paper, but really letting go a little bit at the beginning of the how and really connecting with the why. And the how evolves.
Exactly.
It sort of organically will emerge out of that work. So,
Well, let's see how your how evolved when it came to speaking your truth.
when I started to create online courses, it was an uncomfortable experience. I tried to do what I do in the classroom, which is I prepare and then I riff. Like I riff off of the energy in the room, and I found that it didn't work online. It was a disaster. It was not the same organic flow. And so I spent many years training and doing shit wrong, frankly, in order to get the training and start to identify how to structure things appropriately for that audience. Now, one-on-one and in a room with people, oftentimes that preparing and then riffing and going with the flow can work beautifully, but it's about knowing the right container, right? So if you are creating an online program, there's a different way that it needs to be structured for people to have success. How do you create meaningful experiences? How do you create impactful experiences?
I love seeing how far your brand has come.
Yes.
Because we definitely got really clear along the way.
Oh, yes.
It was a struggle at some point.
Oh, it was.
Let's just be honest. You know, in the beginning, there was a struggle at hand about how I saw the structure was, and then how you did, and then we were trying to make a compromise, and it wasn't really working, and then all of a sudden, light bulb.
Absolutely. And I think that was one of the beautiful parts of the process, right? It was uncomfortable. It was like, oh shit, what am I doing? What did I get myself into? And then it was like, okay, breathe. Come back to that trust of like looking at the vision, and really, you know, it's also about, you know, being very clear about that voice. Like either it's a yes or it's a no, but really being able to engage and listen to your expertise and then filter that, like, does that fit for this? And starting to hone that skill, I think, was an important part of evolving and growing as a business owner, not just, you know, somebody who provides a service, but as a business and as a brand.
As an experience.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the truth is from even the brand that we launched with last year to what is live now, it has evolved, but it's also been refined and clarified and, you know.
Right, because at the beginning I wanted to be able to serve such a broad spectrum. I was really committed to being able to serve different, like, economic price points as well, so as not to shut people out from the work, because I feel like it's very important. It's a vital tool, and by providing a process for people, it's essentially a tool to help them through bringing their work into the world. And so that for me was really distilling it down into 5 stages and being able to deliver that very clearly and to get it into people's hands, so that one, I could step away and take the space that I needed and really do the work that I loved in the way that I loved, but serve in a bigger way. And so that was a difficult process, absolutely, but it was also, it felt so necessary for my growth, for the maturation of the brand, and to really live my way into it. So it didn't happen on the timeline I wanted, or you wanted it.
Nope.
No, it sure didn't. But I feel like now, sort of, you know, being able to like lean into it a little, it's like, yeah, this feels right. It evolved in its own time, and so thank you for continuing with me on the journey.
Girl, brand's an evolution, just like life is.
Yes.
And the truth is that, you know, it can't just look good on paper.
Right.
If it doesn't work for you and your life, but just also your work is intellectual, but your work really also is very heart-centered. And so if it's not fulfilling for you in that way, because you're trying to serve everybody, you're wearing yourself out, then you didn't make your brand in the beginning anyway.
Absolutely. And also it has to honor, I am a sole mama of 2 kids, and it has to serve my life as well. And I think really being okay with that, and sort of not even being okay with that, but really resonating, like, that is about self-love, right? Not just burning myself out to be of service. And that was, I think, one of my biggest struggles, was like, okay, how do I create this container to both, be self-loving, but also bring something and be of service?
Well, and what a social story that most entrepreneurs struggle with, because even though we hear, be an entrepreneur, you get to set your own hours, your own time, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. What do most of us do?
We do everything.
We kill ourselves.
Yes.
We really do. And we say yes to every single job, even if we know it's not right, because we're struggling financially. And that just brings us down a huge struggle where we're kind of, the bitch of our work, basically. We're like, we're not the leader of it. We're like, kind of like, okay, whatever you need from us, work. And that's just an entirely disempowering situation altogether.
Absolutely. And it's like, that's not the mythology that I want to continue. That's not the social story I want to continue. And so I think part of my struggle was really getting clear on that. And so, owning that. And really, it was that distilling of the process to me that was the light bulb. And that gives me a sense of freedom, but also being of service, like, first.
Well, let's show them this out-of-the-box process that we ended up creating.
So we need to work to create those containers and the best shape so that our students, our clients, can have experiences that really are impactful and change their world. And sometimes generating work that matters means literally you are sifting through the dirt to find those gems, to find those flickering gold flecks that are brilliant and shining, but just need to be separated out from the rest. And that's what I do for my one-on-one clients, is help them sift through all of the sand to get to those beautiful, sparkling nuggets of that they are ready to bring into the world. Because when they can bring that into the world, when they can really strip away what is not serving that vision or what is making it cloudy, and really start to refine that brilliance, that is powerful work.
I love how you say it. Sifting away and finding those gold flecks, because that is truly the heart of exactly what you do. And through the process, you really got clear about on how to help, how you do help your audience, but how you could help them in a, not necessarily always a one-on-one way.
Right.
And still be empowering so that they could help sift through.
Absolutely. And so it was about creating that flexible structure, right? Because one of the goals was to be able to scale on purpose and to scale with sanity, right?
Sanity.
With sanity intact. And part of that is planning the structure, or really distilling that structure. So by creating this, then it gives people a sort of pathway. So when they're ready to work with me one-on-one, they've already gone through sort of this visioning process. They've already produced their content in a way that it can be shared. They've already gotten clear on who they're serving and some ideas about how they want to serve and what's important to them. And so by the time they're ready to work one-on-one, to really distill what I love to refer to as the infrastructure of shine, right? Or just the structure, if we want to be concise. But I love to think about what brings out your shining, what brings out your highest, most sparkling, flex. So that allows me, the structure allows me to really do the work that I love, which is about uncovering those gold flecks, uncovering that, and helping clients create the products that they, whether they're programs, products, what have you.
Art experiences, dances, flash mobs, whatever. We're into whatever.
There are a million different containers, right? And it's really about distilling the perfect one for that client. So,
well, and what I like about your process is, from a branding perspective, it primes your audience to think in your methodology. So that way, by the time that they're working with you, you're not having to unprogram negative things that they have potentially learned from other quote-unquote experts out there, which is half the battle. But also, this is where our two the thought process is me. Because I was always saying, to me, I see your process as a spectrum, that it's like the spectrum of light. And she's like, you're like, no, it's not a freaking spectrum.
Yes.
Don't call it that. She's like, it's holistic and it's this circle.
It's a circle. We were fighting about.
We were struggling, girl.
Yes. I was like, no, spectrum is so linear. It's so masculine. It doesn't.
And I'm
fit.
like, no, like it goes this way and then it like comes back around because and when you're an entrepreneur, you're always creating again, and it's this whole process.
Right. It wasn't until I saw the spectrum and then it was an imagery about it going around, right? And I thought, yes, this is exactly the creative process, because you start out with this visioning, right? And then you go through the tough work of really getting that content out there and producing, and then there's the refining, and it always has, cycle of life. It's about composting and reemerging. And so that really spoke to me. And I know at the beginning you had that vision, you had this idea, and I was like, nope.
I know, you were like, nope, not happening.
I was really sure about that. And then I had one of those, Oprah-ish aha moments of like, oh, it could look like this. And so that's how you came up with the intro.
Well, and I think it actually also teaches your audience that there is a process.
There's
and honestly, it repeats again, just because no matter what your clients are, they're always entrepreneurial on some level.
Right.
But the industry that they're in can be so diverse, and for that, and then the outcome of how that experience looks can be so diverse. So those weren't common grounds that we could speak to, but what we can speak to is the creative process of being an entrepreneur. And that is always, it goes through the process and comes back again, because you always have a new idea or a new vision or whatever.
Right, and creative people are like that, right? They're the idea machines. And so they're often producing those, and being able to select and then move with that is really important. So yeah, I love the new brand with the movement of the spectrum into the circle.
Into that holisticness, because that's so you too.
Absolutely.
The structure, all that structured education with all that holistic side of you, girlfriend.
That's right.
So let's talk about the future.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the big plans? Because being a solo mama, having, you still teach academia, and growing this business, you have to be able to flex with it.
Absolutely. And so that's, the structure, as I said, created. So by the time people have gone through the first 3 stages, which I'm planning to deliver as a group in some form, I'm really asking folks what their feedback is and starting to talk with them about how they'd like to engage with the process. And so that will define what I create, but that will be stage 1, 2, and 3 will be a group setting or something, a tool that people can use for their own growth, so that when they come to work with me one-on-one, they will be ready and primed to move along in the process efficiently, and really have already taken that time to go through where they're at, because I think that's in many ways part of the first stage of the journey, right? We might have an idea of this vision, but then when we actually start getting content onto paper, or what I call downloading from your brain onto paper, and really starting to reckon with some of those questions, our abstract ideas then start to get messy. That's the messy part of the process, right? And so that's the part that I can help lead them through, but I'm realizing I can also create a structure, because since it doesn't happen on a time schedule.
It is not 9 to 5. Nope.
It is not 9 to 5. It won't happen on a time schedule. Everyone has to kind of mature into that in their own way, or marinate, as I like to say, and move through that at their own speed. So I really love that I've found this flexible way for people to engage with that work and really get what is in their heart, their bigger vision, out into the world, because so many beautiful creatives, artists, entrepreneurs, healers, teachers, have this vision and they don't actually create on it, right?
Yep.
And that's, to me, one of the most heartbreaking stories of all, because I'm like, I see it! Yes! And I get so excited. So now I have a process.
Well, and I love that you still have the structure of a process, but the flexibility and freedom of however you almost support thinking completely outside the box of stop thinking e-products, stop thinking books, stop thinking group coaching necessarily, like, and or if you're thinking that is the loose structure, making sure the experience, even if it's an ebook or an e-product, that the actual unique experience isn't like same old, repetitive stuff that's out there. It's not about noise.
Right. It's not about noise, and it's not about, there's so much information out there. We are all on information overload. So it's really any program, product, it's not about creating more information or transmitting more information. It's really about creating those connections, those relationships, those opportunities for growth, those opportunities for the light bulbs, and really creating those spaces. That's how I think of teaching and learning, right? It's about creating the space and bringing in the right ingredients. And
that's what you do so beautifully. And that's what you help your audience do.
Thank you.
And that's what we all need, because no one needs to buy another bloody e-product just to buy an e-product. Let's be honest.
Right.
So here's a question from our viewers, which is, being a solo mama, being, life, work, we all struggle with that. What is one way that what do you do for yourself? How do you keep that grounded balance? Was there a check? Is there a process? Do you do some habit daily that helps you stay focused?
So I think since around 2000, I started a meditation practice, and I have a teacher, and it's tantric meditation, and that has been literally the saving grace in my life throughout many different, transformations, if you will. That is the one place that I come back to. I do my breathing exercises and kriyas, cleansings, and really it's a struggle, right? I've been a serial meditator because I struggled with that consistency for a long time. Now my windows of walking away from it are much shorter, but that gratitude and really thinking of others first in terms of how I'm showing up to serve, but not forgetting to invest in my own self-care, and meditation is the foundation of all of it. There are a lot of things that I do, but meditation is the foundation. So,
other question is, going through this entire process, reworking your brand, being so public about it, what is one thing, one experience, one takeaway that you would share with everyone else that could help them?
To not be afraid of those friction points and the struggle. But
we've had some.
Yes.
But we still love each other. We love each other anyway.
But it's, for me, like, it was very validating in terms of, like, no, okay, I can receive this and anchor into, like, does this feel right? And it's really, something I think my dad shared with me, like, long ago. He's like, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. And that sort of was echoed in the fashion or the styling, right? Like, it's either a yes or it's a no. It's very Marie Kondo kind of, does it spark joy? Yes or no? And really energetically, I guess that's what it is. That energetic clarity, it's really present when we choose to listen to it. So that has been one of the most sort of self-validating parts of the process, even through the challenging parts.
Well, and from my perspective is making sure that, like, when you had that revelation where you're like, I got it, I figured, I see the spectrum now, and I'm like, would there have been anything I could have done earlier?
No.
It's like, because it is such a personal experience.
Absolutely.
That keeping investing in yourself and making sure that that's a priority is just as equal and important as building your website, making sure your copy's on point, making sure your photography's on point. Those are equal balances.
Right.
And it is going to be an evolutionary. Your brand, your website is not going to be the same in a year as it is today, and it shouldn't be. You evolve, they evolve, and that's the whole point of this.
The last thing I want to say about that is I think it's really important to know that sometimes, especially, we all have different challenges, but there are moments of sprinting, and then there are moments of rest, and that everything has a sort of ebb and flow or seasonality about it, and there's really leaning into that. Like, there are times when it's going to be like a bit of a hustle, right, to like get the website done and to do those things, and to build in those moments of like rest and restoration for your own self-care.
Especially when your brand's a lifestyle. If your brand's
Amen.
not supporting that and it's not supporting
Right.
your life, then you got the wrong brand
And
for
that's
you.
the biggest, I think the biggest takeaway from the rebrand is like, right, it has to, it's a circle.
Yep.
It's a cycle. And so
Can we say it's holistic?
we can.
So if you have questions for our brands, you can head on over to fixmybrand.alliecraig.com. Right there on the homepage, you can ask the experts, you can ask our brands. We'll be answering your questions live every single week, so make sure that you send us your questions because we got answers for you. And next week, we are talking to the fabulous Gina Bell of Moonroot
Wow.
Spirit. We're going to talk about where she is with her brand, her vision, and everything that she's up to. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you then.